seconds and counting.
Hey, what's good, guys? Clutch Entertainment here, back with another video. And for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Houston Texans. And as we know, the NFL draft is fastly approaching, just 4 weeks away now. And one topic that's being heavily discussed right now in the NFL draft world, and pretty much everywhere that talks about the NFL draft, is what's going to happen with Jalen Carter. A lot of different people, analysts and whatnot, they kind of see him taking a pretty significant drop from where he was predicted to go. He was predicted to be a top 4 pick at one point, like not even 2 months ago. Everybody was convinced he was going to be a top 4 pick. Him and Will Anderson were almost no way going to fall out of the top 4. And now it seems like there's a real possibility that both of them could fall out of the top 4. But the main point of this video is, should the Houston Texans target Jalen Carter, say if he falls to 12, or if he's like around that 8 to 9 range, should we maybe try to trade up for him, or just hope that he falls to 12? And if he does end up being there at pick number 12, should we take the risk? Should we take the chance on a potentially generational player? I mean, if you want to call him generational, I feel like he is a generational player. With all of his attitude problems and whatnot aside, he's a pretty generational player. I mean, you don't see players like him come out every year. And I mean, a lot of people had him over Will Anderson, and people say that Will Anderson, I wouldn't say he's generational, but he's one of the better prospects in terms of edges that we've seen in the past few years. I feel like he's definitely better than a Kayvon Thibodeau and a Trayvon Walker and a Aiden Hutchinson. I feel like he's definitely better than those three, but I don't think he's nearly that generational prospect that maybe like a Nick Bosa or somebody like that was. But Jalen Carter, on the other hand, I feel like he definitely is a generational prospect. I mean, he's a defensive tackle that just creates havoc. He can destroy a whole game plan. I mean, of course, edges can too, but it's different. When it comes from interior, like when you're getting interior pass rush from a player, I feel like it's much harder to stop, because not only can that interior guy mess up the run game, he can also be a very disrupting pass rusher. And this is not really a comparison, but I mean, I'm just going to bring back one kind of, I guess, memory that Houston Texans fans should have, and it's Jadeveon Clowney in like that 2018 season. Obviously, they're both different players. This isn't a comparison at all. It's just a comparison on how Jadeveon Clowney was able to be that disruptor from the inside. Sure, Jadeveon was an edge. He was a defensive end. But at times, he would rush from the inside. And we all saw how Jadeveon Clowney never really got those big sack numbers. We all know that. We all know he didn't get those big tackle numbers or the big sack numbers. But one thing that he did do well is create havoc, create disruption, and just be that guy that's always all around the football and making offenses just fall apart, really. In the run game, he would force the running back to take the wrong hole. In the passing game, he would force the quarterback to escape the pocket, having to either throw the ball away or just escape the pocket and try to make some magic happen, and it didn't really always work. And I feel like Jalen Carter can be similar in that way of maybe not always having the numbers, but always being there, being that interior presence. Obviously, again, Jadeveon Clowney isn't an interior guy. He's an edge. He's a defensive end, but in the way that we used him at some times, he did rush from the inside. And I feel like Jalen Carter can kind of have that same presence in the sense of being that interior presence, creating havoc, ruining the game plan. And I feel like having a player like that is very, very crucial. I think having a pass rusher is great and all. Having that elite, that TJ Watt, that Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, the Myles Garrett type of player is great. But then at the same time, having that interior presence, I don't know if it's better, but I feel like it can help your defense more. I feel like you can find better average / subpar edges more than you can find an elite / super great top 5 defensive tackle in the NFL, you know? I feel like it's easier to find an edge that's gonna be able to come in and contribute. I mean, we've seen it. We saw it with I'm probably going to butcher his name, I'm sorry, but Okoronkwo. We saw him last year come in on a 1-year deal, and he was able to pick up, I don't remember the exact sack number. I think it was like 6 or 7. Maybe it wasn't that much, but I don't know. It was like somewhere around that range. We saw him come in here on a 1-year deal, and he was great for us. I mean, would he be great on a playoff team? Probably not, but he's a solid rotational guy. And my point is, you can find guys like that every single year, every single free agency. Obviously, Will Anderson, I mean, he's a different level guy. He's probably going to be on that tier of the TJ Watts and Nick Bosa's, but I feel like you can have an average defensive line. I have like an average edge, an average defensive end, and have a stellar defensive tackle, which could be a Jalen Carter. And I mean, obviously, we all know the talent is there for him. We all know he's going to be a great player if he can put it together. But the big thing is his attitude. Would Houston want to take that risk on him? Would Houston want to put their, not really mortgage their future? Because, I mean, it is pick 12. I mean, it's still pretty high. That's a top 15 pick in the first round. But would Houston want to, I guess, kind of mortgage their future on a player that's not boom or bust in terms of potential, but boom or bust? I mean, well, I guess it kind of is potential, but boom or bust in the sense of, is he going to put it all together in his mind? I mean, the Houston Texans have DeMeco Ryans at head coach. Maybe they feel like if they draft a guy like Jalen Carter, maybe they think DeMeco Ryans can talk some sense into him, make him like, hey, man, you're in the NFL now. This is some big-time money. This is some life-changing thing. These players dream to be here. Maybe he could talk some type of sense into him. But I'm not really sure if Nick Caserio wants that type of energy around here. I know that DeMeco Ryans has mentioned a couple of times about energy vampires or something like that, or Draculas or something like that. I don't know. It's a weird analogy. But I don't know if you would really want that around here. But I definitely do think it's worth heavily considering if Jalen Carter is there at number 12. I think I'm doing it for sure. Would the Texans do it? I would probably say 60% no, 40% yes. I feel like it would have to depend on who's left on the board. If it's Jackson Smith and Jigba is there, I feel like they would probably target a JSN over Jalen Carter. But if there's like not too many guys left, like maybe if it's like a Brian Brisset or one of the top cornerbacks there at number 12, I feel like they may say, hey, you know what? Jalen Carter fell to us right here. There's not too many great guys that we would really have over him on our board right now. Let's just take a shot. Let's get him inside of a mental, not a mental home, but like, let's get him inside of like a some type of facility where you can resolve his problems. I'm not really sure what's going on with him. I mean, obviously we did see the tragic incident occur with his teammate and the facility worker and whatnot. We did see that tragic incident happen, and I mean, I'm sure he feels super, super bad for it. But then there was also some other rumored things about his attitude. Dan Campbell recently said that he talked to one of Jalen Carter's former teammates and said something that he did something that was interesting or something like that, and he didn't want to get into it if it was interesting in a good way or a bad way, so I'm just going to take it that it was probably in a bad way. But we did see Micah Parsons. He had something interesting happen with him, and I mean, we all know what that was, or at least we should know, and if you don't, it's probably not good to say on YouTube. You could go YouTube it. I mean, you could go Google it, but we all know what Micah Parsons did. I mean, he turned into being a great player. He turned into being a top 5 pass rusher / edge, whatever the hell you want to call Michael Parsons. I mean, he could play pretty much almost any position on that linebacker core or defensive line. I mean, he's a great player, as we know. Maybe we can use that type of philosophy on a Jalen Carter. Like, hey, I mean, he slipped. He's a generational type of player. Let's just take the shot and hope he can turn into a Micah Parsons in the sense of being able to contribute and not being weird, being normal, I guess, being a good, sound football player. But, yeah, that's pretty much the video. I mean, what do you guys think? Should they target Jalen Carter if he falls to number 12? Or should they look into maybe trading up to like 9 or 10 if he's there? Do you think Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans would want to take that chance on a Jalen Carter type player? But yeah, let me know y'all's guys' thoughts down below in the comments. It's been Clutch City Entertainment, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on post notifications, and it's been Clutch City Entertainment. Hope you guys have a good day. Peace.